I think as people are slowly coming, I can quickly start off with saying that today is a diversity day in Armada. And why is it me telling you that? Because I'm head of diversity at Armada this year. It feels very grand as a title. So we are organizing some events specifically today, but also through the year. And we have a diversity room in the physical Armada that's going to take place on the 23rd, 24th of November. But today I'm going to focus on it now. We have different things happening. Part of it is the lecture by Scania, which I'm very happy about, and you'll hear more about it soon. Also, what we have is a diversity challenge that is live on Instagram. So of course, not all of us have Instagram accounts, but some of us do. So feel free to be part of that. You'll see some information on the Armada channel page, account, that's the word. And also we have the Mentimeter quiz. That is not the information quiz. It's more about sharing who you are and if you have any ideas about inclusion, diversity at KTH and how it could be increased. So feel free to share your thoughts in the Mentimeter quiz, and the link is in our Instagram, but also I'll send the message here so that you can read more about that in the chat. So I think now we are ready with 72 students joining to start the lecture. So I'm welcoming the Scania skill capture team, as my Zoom helps me to say, to start presenting. So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you for the introduction. It's great to be here and to see 72 students. Even though we don't see every single one of you, we're really happy for taking your time to listen to us and hopefully give us input. We love to talk, but we also love it when you talk. That's why we're using Zoom as well, so to try to get the interaction. We'll also make sure that you have time for questions at the end, but just raise your hands if you have anything at all. And this is not the first time we're here in the diversity room, which is an honor. So we're going to do our best to kind of introduce you into skill capture and the way we do diversity and inclusion at Scania, but also why it actually matters for business. That was the question. So with that said, I will say hi. My name is Jean Jönsson, and this is my colleague Nicole. Who are you, Nicole?
Hi, everybody. Really good to meet all of you today. Sorry about my voice. I hope it clears up just now. My name is Nicole Barbeau, and I'm the second half of the skill capture team here at Scania. I'm really excited to be with you. You'll hear I've got a bit of a strange accent. I come from South Africa, and I've lived in Sweden now for almost 2 years. And learned a lot about what diversity and inclusion work is done here, and super excited to share what we do and why it's important with you.
Nice. Thank you, Nicole. And I'm Jean Jönsson, as I said before, and I'm the second half as well. It's us two in the global skill capture team here at Scania. I started off at Scania 2018, working with entrepreneurship. And then I ended up shifting to diversity and inclusion. They're very closely related, looking at how do we innovate and how do we get the entrepreneurial capabilities within the company. And that the key to that is diversity and inclusion to make sure we get all the perspectives. So that's why I shifted. Good. And I grew up in Sweden. My background, I'm not an engineer and I'm not a HR person, but I'm actually a finance person. I studied at Lund, so your rival. But now I'm here and I think we can get it started.
Brilliant.
Good. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to talk very fast, but we're doing our best, and stop us if you feel like we're talking too fast. So if you have questions, as I said before. So we're going to talk to you about skill capture, which is the name for our diversity and inclusion work here at Scania, why we do it and why other companies do it, and also get a bit of reflection from your end as well. So be prepared to speak up and share your insights if you want to. And also the last question is, why do you actually need to know about it? Being students in all the different ages and years maybe is more correct. Why that's important for you as well. That's what we're going to touch on. But before we start, I can't see every single one of you, but I see some of you. I would like you to actually trust me, which sounds really, really strange, considering that I'm a stranger to all of you. And I just want you to relax. I'm going to take you through an exercise that we do with all of our managers as well. So you're going to get firsthand insight. So if you relax, close your eyes and just listen to the words that I say. I'm going to take you through an exercise where I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios. And I just want you to imagine them and visualize them by yourself. Okay? So now that you've closed your eyes, I will start with the first scenario. So imagine yourself running through an airport. It's past COVID. And you're passing through the security check and you're running with your bag to the gate when you get into the plane and they close the doors behind you. The pilot steps out of the cockpit to say hello to you. And the second scenario is that you arrive at your destination, you end up in Italy. And you've actually decided to go to your recommended restaurant, which has supposedly the best food. And you agree, it's the best food that you've ever eaten in your entire life. And you enjoy every single bite of it. And at the table next to you, there's a happy couple celebrating their wedding anniversary, and they look extremely happy. And the third scenario is that the next morning, you participate in the largest tech conference in the world. And all the cool companies are represented, the Spotifys, the Kings, the Amazon, or whatever you want to say. And the CEO of the hottest startup right now gets on the stage to talk. So now you should have a good picture of all 3 scenarios, and I would like you to open your eyes. Okay, so I'm going to ask you 3 very simple questions. And I just want you to answer honestly. And I think we can do it this way, considering that I can't see you. If you can grab the, in the chat, actually, that's a good idea. I just want you to answer yes or no. Okay, so the first question, in the mental picture with the pilot, was the pilot black? Yes or no? Type yes or no. Did you see a black pilot? No, 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 no. Few no's, few no's, few no's. 1 yes, nice. Few no's, few no's. Okay. Just imagine the person. Okay, thank you, Shirag. I hope I didn't butcher your name, but thank you for writing that as well, because some people do imagine that as well. But then the next one is, so the married couple in the Italian restaurant, were the married couple 2 men? Yes or no in the chat. Have a few no's, few no's. Could be, someone said, but in your mental picture, was it men or women? No, no, no. Okay, thank you for answering that honestly. And the third question is, at the tech conference, was the CEO a woman? The CEO that, we have 2 yeses. Nice, a few yeses. This one was a bit more mixed. Yes, yes. No, yes, yes. Good, a good mix, that one. A bit more balanced. Nice, thank you for answering that. You can keep writing your answers. But what I would like to ask you is, why do you think that you responded the way that you do? And there is no right or wrong answer. And there is no shame to this, just so you know. Why do you think you responded the way that you do? Anyone who would like to share? It's free, it's open. I would like one answer at least. Instincts based on past experience. Rahul, good reflection there. Anyone else? Because of the stereotype and the general perception, someone put. So we say that it projects yourself, Daniel says, good, because we're biased to do that. Complex stuff here, bringing in biases and stuff. Okay, and all of you are actually somewhat correct in your answers. That is based on our past experience. And when we do this exercise, it's kind of to just show the reflection that, as Daniel's saying, we are all biased to think the way that we think based on our previous experiences. So the way that we perceive the world is based on our previous experience, which makes it really, really hard for us to not be biased if the only thing I've ever seen is white male as pilots. Had I only seen black females as pilots, that's probably the first picture I would have in my mind. And then I think I'm going to stop it there, and then we're going to come back to this as well, because we're going to talk more about biases and perspectives and why it actually matters for business that we work with this. So I'll leave it as a cliffhanger. Nicole, do you want to take us through the next step?
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of that exercise. Great.
Awesome. So like when we introduced ourselves, you know that we are the skill capture team at Scania. So I think it's pretty important that you understand what the words behind skill capture are. So diversity or pluralism. And when we speak about diversity or pluralism, we are speaking about difference. And for us, it means having...
No.
Apologies. Can you hear me? I'll go back. So thanks so much, Anastasia. I'll just say what I said before, but we are the team, the skill capture team from Scania. So for us, it's really important for you to understand what skill capture means. At Scania, when we speak about skill capture, we speak about diversity. For us, diversity means having or difference, and it means having different perspectives, different people, and different ideas within our company. And then we also speak about inclusion. And when we speak about inclusion, we speak about, we mean the ability to include all of these different perspectives and the different diversity that we have in our company, and we involve this in our decision making.
Great. And as you can see here on the picture, that's our current CEO, Christian Levin. And for us at Scania, even from top management, we say that skill capture is actually the engine for transformation. So some of you, if you've heard Scania's communication, you'll see that we're aiming to be the leader in sustainable transport systems. And skill capture is the engine for that, enabling us to become the leader. And it's a strategic initiative and part of the corporate targets. Now you might be wondering, okay, Nicole took you through the words, but what is skill capture? We're going to take you through to the next step. So we actually have a definition for it.
Yeah. So what is skill capture to us? It is about diversity and inclusion. And diversity and inclusion at Scania is about continuously developing our corporate culture. And by doing that, we do this by capturing the diversity of skills, know-how, and perspectives of our most valuable assets, which are our employees.
And what you might be familiar with is the first part, which we're going to show you now, which is the outwardly part. So most people, when we speak about diversity, or at least previously, you might be a bit further ahead. We would look at this. We would look at the skin color, the name, the gender, age, and the outwardly things that are easy to see. And obviously they don't, it's not that they don't matter. Of course, the outwardly things do make an impact on how I behave, who I am, or my experiences and what I choose. But we wanted to broaden the word, and that's why we chose the inwardly part as well, looking at people's knowledge, their life experience, your prior work experience, your values, your attitudes, and your personality, and everything that kind of makes up who you are and what you actually can come and contribute with to the company. So that's the key. So looking at the outward things, the things that we do see, and the things that we don't see as well. That's what diversity is.
Brilliant. And so we speak about diversity and inclusion, and that's all good and well. But this quote sums up what is really important. So inviting people to a party is great, but not asking them to dance makes them leave before the party's over. So for us, it's not good enough just to speak about diversity and inclusion. we have to speak about belonging, and we have to make sure that there are things in place within Scania to make sure that people belong and they are able to bring their authentic selves to work.
And the question is then, like, why is it so important for everyone to be able to bring their most authentic selves to work, being fully you? And it comes back to this, which is the core of the skill capture method. And it's essentially just creating an understanding and initiating action by using our collective intelligence. And just to sum it up, 1 + 1 = 3, essentially. That's what we're after. We want you to come into our company, or whoever it is that comes to our company, to bring their whole self and be able to add value, hence the collective intelligence. But if we look deeper into this.
So this is our little egg, our skill capture egg. So for us at Scania, it's really important that we focus on the following when we speak about skill capture and we look at our model. Obviously, being diverse, being inclusive is ethically important to us. It's part of our core values. But by being truly diverse and inclusive, we are able to innovate and we're able to attract, and those all work in an interlinked way. And these form the foundation and the essence of our culture in our company. So it's really important to us.
Good. So now you've heard the basics of skill capture and at Scania, we wanted to ask you to reflect on this. So the question is, why do you think that companies work with D&I? We've told you why we work with D&I. Do you believe that's true, or do you think there are other reasons as well that companies work with D&I? You've probably heard this buzzword everywhere. So why do you think that companies work with D&I? And I see that you're already...
I'm going to take you through some company examples now. Just give me a thumbs up. Can you see our screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Cool. So some of these logos should be really familiar to you. Some of you should know, or you might be familiar with what I'm about to say, but we'll go through a few of them. So bottom center, if you look at the Apple Watch in when was it? I can't even remember. It was 2015, 2016 when Apple first released their watch. They got huge backlash because the infrared sensors for the heart rate monitor were faulty on people with tattoos or darker skin. So questions needed to be asked about who were testing the products. Similar story if you look at the bottom right corner. In a few years ago, Bentley had released a new vehicle. They had spent a fortune developing a dynamic driver experience and really tailored the experience for the driver. This model did really well in Singapore, and the market that were buying the car employed drivers. So they didn't really benefit from the investment made. It's just a simple example. If we look at the top right picture, coolest monkey in the jungle, a few years ago in 2018, H&M released this hoodie. I speak about it because I was in South Africa at the time, and South Africans took to the shop and started vandalizing all H&M shops in the malls because it was racially inappropriate. If we look at Starbucks, Starbucks had a huge lawsuit on their, or potential lawsuit on their hands a few years ago, where they actually shut down a number of stores and forced diversity and inclusion training after a barista refused to allow a potential patron to use the bathroom, and it was blackmail. They managed to work the situation and do some brand, I lost the word, but harvest or look after their brand. And then a similar thing happened last year. Anyone in the audience who might be a CrossFitter, Greg Glassman, the CrossFit CEO, got into huge trouble last year for a very insensitive tweet following the George Floyd murder in America. Why am I showing you these pictures, or why are we showing you these pictures? It's because diversity and inclusion really do matter for business. if you have got diverse people and people from different backgrounds with different perspectives working in your company and they feel comfortable enough to speak, you are able to mitigate problems like this. Similar to VW Dieselgate a few years ago as well, which is our holding company. So that was just something that we thought you might find quite interesting and we wanted to share with you.
And just that some of you spoke about, you gave really good insights in terms of like if a company is global, like Scania is, and many of you will probably end up working at global companies. These are things that are good to consider whether you're an engineer, you're a marketing person, you're in HR. It's in all the processes that D&I is needed. For instance, in testing, if they knew it in the development of the product, for instance, Bentley, they would have known that that's not the right customer group, for instance. But we spoke about this before, and we spoke about bias and what actually happens. So why do you think these companies ended up making these mistakes? Because they're probably just mistakes. I don't think any of them, from my perception, did it on purpose. And we speak about bias of being one of the culprits or one of the reasons for this. And just an essential meaning of bias, and you can read it from the top, it says a tendency to believe that some people, ideas, etc., are better than others that usually result in treating some people unfairly. And looking at it from a business context, if I believe that, for instance, people that look like me are better, I'm more likely not to recruit someone who's not like me. If I believe that someone who looks like Nicole has better ideas than someone who looks like me, I'm more likely to listen to their ideas and not include them, and probably miss the fact that a crucial part that could be crucial to the customer, for instance, just as an example. And then moving on, we wanted to share just one example that you might meet if some of you are engineers here, which I'm guessing. This is one that we hear a lot, which is, well, now that's what I call an engineer. And my husband is an engineer, and I do this all the time with him. He's very analytical. He likes to think critically. We're very, very different in that way. And I'm very, very, guilty of using this stereotype. But also means that when I do recruit someone, for instance, let's say we want to recruit someone in our team, and I think that an engineer is the most analytical person, whatever, if they're not, I'm more likely not to maybe recruit them. And forgetting the fact that analytical people could be finance people, they could be whoever, they could have completely different backgrounds, and we actually need all of those perspectives to do a really, really good job. So just taking a second, because we don't have that much time, we wanted to ask you to think about, when have you experienced a bias? And here you can write it in the chat.
Yeah.
When have you experienced a bias, if you have? Anyone who would like to share? In the chat, when have you experienced a bias, or someone who thinks something about you that is a completely wrong, maybe a misconception, or just a thought that you should be this way?
Job interviews, gender biased. Yeah. There's some really interesting readings about how technology is helping to help with that.
And someone said in their previous job just before getting promoted, which is a shame, because could be missing the best candidate. Out eating with the girls and the check is handed to me. Yep, that's a very typical bias as well. When I say that I'm from Russia, as opposed to when I share that I'm also from Cyprus. So people might have biases depending on what country you're from. Nice.
Yeah, another job interview.
Language bias.
Yeah.
Okay. You have very interesting, and I'm sure there are lots of you who've experienced it either consciously or unconsciously. And we're going to speak more about what we can do, or why it's so important for us as a company to try to work with this. So our question is diversity and inclusion important? And obviously, because we work with this, you probably know the answer to this, or we know the answer to this. And I think I mentioned it before, so I'm not going to go into it fully, but I'll share these points with you. I'll put all of them up at the same time. And when we've spoken about this before, but when we say that D&I is important and it is the engine of transformation at Scania, and I think a lot of companies see it the same way, we speak about it because it helps us to be more market oriented and sensitive to future needs in our customers. And some of you mentioned that if we're looking at an expansion, how do we do that if we don't have the right people that have been in that country or in that worked with that customer group and so forth? We do it because it increases our efficiency by making full use of the skills in our workforce. Obviously, when you come to a company, you want to make sure that your skills are used, or the years that you've had at KTH, you want to make use of them, right? I think you haven't paid all of that or spend all that time for no reason. We want to widen our talent pool and attract new employees, as Nicole mentioned. And as one of you mentioned so well, also boost innovation and creativity by adding different perspectives and experiences. Yes, so when we look at that, we also have this that Nicole will share with us.
Yeah, so we decided to share this with you because these have just been released from our friends from Academic Work. And this is from the top most important things that young professionals deem important in the workplace. Each year they do a YPAI index where they survey a huge sort of section of young professionals around Sweden. And these are the October 2021 results. So, and this is what they deem really important. And you can see second, and this isn't in order of preference, it was just the top 10 in general. But career development opportunities, obviously diversity, equity, and sustainability, which is why we're sharing it with you. And then there's other ones that are super interesting too. So we're seeing a trend from young people, from people in your generation, that diversity, equity, and sustainability are becoming increasingly important when looking for work. So for us, it's really important to ensure not only for the well-being of our company, but for the well-being of our employees as well. That we are consistently working on our diversity and inclusion efforts and making sure that we're getting the best out of our people. And then obviously it has a fantastic knock-on effect where we're able to innovate and become the leaders in sustainable transport. We're very cognizant of time, and I know we don't have much left, so we're nearly done, and then we'd love to hear your questions. But Jean's going to take yours.
One more thing to this. No, because we, with this, as Nicole said, it's obviously based on young professionals, but also looking back at the question that we asked in the beginning. So why is this important for you to know? We've answered it as we've gone through, but also looking at the top one was good colleagues and work environment. And maybe not every single one of you will agree to this, but when you come into the working place, you might want to have good colleagues and work in a good work environment. And if you connect that to the D&I, looking at inclusion, making sure that you're being seen, you're being heard, it also goes back to how does your manager or your team create an environment that is good for you and your colleagues, and you want good colleagues that see you. So it's all kind of interconnected, and that's where it really comes back to how can we as employers make it a diverse and inclusive company, but also you when you come and contribute to companies as a whole. And also when you do start looking, you might want to look out for this. Someone says diversity and sustainability seem like two different things. I would love to answer that. Maybe if you have a question, please phrase it, and then we can probably speak to that as well.
Yeah.
But very good reflection. Good. Yes, this one we just wanted to show you just briefly. To show how one of the ways that we work with it, we just took a very simple Scania example of how to increase diversity, for instance, and we took a recruitment example that could be useful for you. And this is a team that said that they needed to get more perspectives into the recruitment to make sure that they're not just hiring the same person over and over again, and they get the best candidate for the job. So they involved employees, like not just the manager recruiting like you traditionally do, but included the team to make sure that they can identify the different competencies we see in different ways and so forth. Good. I see that we already have a question, so I will stop talking and stop sharing and leave